Hi everyone, and welcome to the Laser channel where we learn, create, and share. My name is Greg, and if you're watching this video, you want to learn how to align the mirrors on your CO2 laser machine. And in today's video, I'm demonstrating on the Reno 65 Pro by Monport. And don't worry, if you've got a different brand laser machine, the methods that I'm going to be sharing with you today are going to apply to virtually any CO2 machine on today's market. I have this video designed to get you up and running as fast as possible with your machine. And to get started, let's answer just some of the questions that people typically have on aligning the mirrors on their machine, starting out with number one, and that's when should I align the mirrors on my laser machine? I recommend aligning the mirrors on a brand new machine, a machine that just had the mirrors removed for cleaning like in the last video that I made. And thirdly, if I move the laser machine from one location to another, that oftentimes disturbs the mirror alignment, especially on larger machines like the Reno 65. Smaller machines like the Reno 45 or K40 style machine typically just need to have the alignment checked. Question number two, do I need extra equipment for aligning the mirrors on the machine? And the method that I'm using, you don't need extra equipment. There's other methods out there on today's market that you buy little gadgets and doodads to attach to the machine, and they're supposedly supposed to speed up and make the mirror alignment more accurate. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is very straightforward and doesn't require any of those gadgets to be purchased. The materials that I will be using is going to be some white masking tape, blue painter's tape, the tool set that oftentimes comes with the machine to gain easier access to the mirror area, and then for the targets when we test pulse the laser, some wooden targets. And lastly, the most important question, and that is, how do we actually go through the steps of the mirror alignment on the machine without it being overly complicated or taking all day long? And for that, we're going to jump inside of the machine where I'm going to talk about near and far and better or worse. During the laser alignment process, we're going to be sending a test pulse out of the laser in a near position and a far position. I'll demonstrate this using a yellow post-it and a black magic marker. The near position is always going to be closest to the laser source. So I've got mirror number one back in this corner, mirror number two underneath the panel, and mirror number three in this location. When we start out in the near position, we'll send a test pulse out, and that will put a mark on our target, let's say something like that. We'll then move the laser head to the far position and we'll fire another test pulse, and oftentimes if we're doing a mirror alignment, it's going to be in the wrong position. They should be lined up on top of one another. This is the basis of all the testing we'll be doing on the mirror alignment. We'll test near. I'll put a little mark next to it so I know that's the one that I tested first. We'll send a test pulse on the far. It is really just that easy. For easier access to the mirrors, I'm going to remove this top panel. I've moved the camera position so that we can now talk about better or worse. We have our test target where we have the near position and the far position, and we're going to adjust the far position to the near position. For that, of course, we have to go to the mirror and adjust one of the screws on here. We're going to only adjust one screw at a time, and it's going to be a tiny amount. Once I make a small adjustment here, I'll test for the near position. I'll send a test pulse and we'll get a mark on our piece of wood. I'll put a little dash next to it so I know that's the near position, and then we'll go to the far position, send another test pulse, and maybe this one got better. If it got better, I'll continue making that adjustment on the mirror until it gets worse. When it gets worse, I'll back that adjustment off, and maybe I'll try adjusting the other screw a little bit. It's really that rudimentary of just sending test pulses near and far, making an adjustment, and figuring out if it got better or worse. We took a look at this on a yellow post-it. Let's actually grab our masking tape and our test targets and put this into application. Normally this top panel is the only one that I need to remove off of the machine, but because I'm recording and sharing with all of you and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing on mirror number 2 and mirror number 1, I am going to be removing the side panel. If you're following along at home, removing the side panel is totally optional. This panel, by the way, does remove pretty easily. There's a couple screws on this side and a few more in the back. Once they remove, the panel easily removes all the way, giving us full access to the mirrors on this side of the machine. Before I start on a full mirror alignment, I like to ask myself the fourth question, and that is, does my machine even need a mirror alignment? To check this, I'll move the laser head to the near point. I'll do a test pulse, and then I'll move it to the furthest point in the opposite corner for another test pulse. If the two test pattern dots line up with one another, then the machine is good. I don't need to go through aligning each of the mirrors up. I'll test that right now. I'll take my piece of target wood and some tape and put that over mirror number 3. I like using a piece of wood because the laser beam doesn't go all the way through. In the last video, I just cleaned all the mirrors. If I use just tape across the front, that smoke from the tape has a tendency of clinging onto the mirror, getting it dirty, defeating what I did in the last video, cleaning all the mirrors. This all looks good, and I'll move the laser head to the nearest point. And because I'm standing on the side that has all the guarding removed, I'm actually going to move to the other side of the machine. I always have the option of placing the top guard back on the machine. These are not only to keep the dust off the machine, it's also to keep the laser beam contained within the machine. I'll briefly press the pulse button on the control display. Now I'll move the laser head to the opposite corner. We're also going to note that on this machine and a lot of other machines on today's market, you can test pulse the laser beam with the lid or the cover of the machine removed. Before I hit the pulse button again, because my hand is in line with the laser beam, I am going to close the lid for this one. A quick test pulse. And we'll open this up and check it out. Here's the near test pulse. I took my black magic marker and made a little mark next to it. Here is the far test pulse, and clearly they're off, so this machine, in fact, does need to have a full mirror alignment. I've got the camera moved. We're looking at the side of the machine. Here's the laser tube, mirror number 1, mirror number 2, and of course the laser head with mirror number 3 on it. I have a fresh target. I'm going to put that over mirror number 2 so that we can check the alignment of mirror number 1. And just like we talked about, we're going to do a test pulse in the near position. A quick pulse. And I'll move the mirror to the far position. Before I test pulse, I am going to put a mark next to that test pulse number 1. And now I can do the far pulse. I'm off to a good start. The near test pulse is closer to this side, and the far test pulse is closer to that side. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to check out the mirror alignment. There's a little lock ring right here on both of the screws. I'm going to loosen that up. Usually from the factory, they're super tight. Which screw to adjust first? Well, this is going to be the one for the side to side. This is going to be up and down. So the up-down alignment of the two test pulses look pretty good. So I'm going to make a small turn or adjustment on the side to side adjustment, and then we'll see if the adjustment got better or worse with the test pulses. It's really just that easy. And now we're getting the hang of this. I'll move the laser head to the near position. Test pulse, and to the far position. Remembering to put a little mark next to the first test pulse so that I don't get them confused. And now I'll pulse the far position. This looks like it's a little bit better, so I'll go back to the screw and I'll make just a little bit more of that same adjustment. I'm turning this about a quarter turn of a time, keeping in mind that the threads on this adjustment screw are extremely fine. I'll put another piece of tape over the top and near position and far position. This is looking really good. I'll continue the process until the far test dot is on top of the near test dot. The test dots line up perfectly, which means mirror number 1 is perfectly aligned. Before I move on to the next step, I'll make sure that both lock nuts are tightened on these adjustment screws. If your machine has 3 screws, of course, make sure that all 3 nuts are properly tightened. I'll go back and check the near and far test dots one more time to make sure that tightening down the adjustment screws didn't accidentally shift anything on the mirror. I did that on mine, and now I'm ready to proceed on to the adjustments on mirror number 2. I'll grab another test target with some masking tape and get that on mirror number 3. Same as before, I'll test the near position first, and then the far position. I'll close the lid for safety. Looks like mirror number 2 is going to need the most adjustment. Here's the near test pulse, and here's the far test pulse. It nearly missed this entire assembly. Good thing I had the guard closed when I was doing the test pulse. We saw in the test pulses that I'm mainly off in the up-down direction, and when I take a look at this holder here, I get a common question on, I want to know specifically what one of the 2 or 3 adjustment screws do. Simplistically, adjust one of them and see if it got better or worse. If I'd like to put a little bit of thought into it, I can look at this screw and know that it's essentially going to pivot the mirror like this. So it's going to be a side to side. If I put my finger out, it's going to move it on that plane side to side. This bottom one is going to tilt it up and down. So it would be on this plane, moving it up and down. And that's exactly what I want to do over here, is I want to take that far test pulse and move it down. So this bottom one is the one that I'm going to adjust first. And on this one, once again, I'll start out with just a simple 1/4 inch turn. I'll put some fresh tape down, test pulse, and to the far position. Here it actually got worse. It's on the very top here, and I meant to, of course, move it further down. So in this case, did I make it better? Nope, I made it worse. So I'm gonna take that adjustment screw and move it in the opposite direction. These adjustments are really just that easy. I made a 1/4 turn that way, and it was the wrong direction. So I'm going to take that 1/4 turn out, and I'm going to add another 1/4 turn and recheck the test pulses. This time it got better, so I'll continue making that same adjustment until I get it as close as I can to that near position, and then I'll work on the side to side if I need to. About a minute or 2 later, and the 2 test dots line up perfectly with one another. I tightened down the lock rings on the 2 adjustment screws, retested it, and it's still perfectly aligned. Mirrors 1 and 2 are complete, leaving mirror number 3 on the Reno series, and probably your machine too. There's going to be 3 adjustment screws. The setup on mirror number 3 is going to be a little bit different, and that's because after mirror number 3 is the focus lens, and the focus lens has a fixed distance of 50 millimeters on this Reno machine, which means I'm not going to be testing at a near distance or a far distance. The distance is always going to be the same. There's going to be 2 things that we check for. The biggest thing is going to be making sure that the laser beam is coming out of the center of the air assist nozzle. And to help facilitate that, we're going to make sure that our 2 test dots that are perfectly aligned are going to be centered up on mirror number 3. I'll do a quick visual inspection of the side of the assembly and looking down from the top. On the side of the laser head, I put a silver mark for the center mark, and we'll see that our test dots in that silver mark line up perfectly. If I did have to make an adjustment, this laser head does move up and down. With this screw and another one on the back side, this entire assembly is slotted to move up and down. Looking down from the top, this looks great. even if it's off a little bit, I would probably still leave it. If it was off a lot, I'd have to go all the way back to mirror number 1 to make this adjustment. There's a little slot down here that moves this entire assembly backwards and forwards. And of course, because I moved that mirror assembly, mirror number 1 and mirror number 2 would have to be realigned. It's only mirror number 3 that I'm really concerned that the laser beam hits the center of the mirror. This makes it so much easier for the laser to come straight out of the air assist nozzle. I'll start by taking a scrap piece of material. I'll place that underneath the laser head. I'm going to make sure that the laser machine is out of focus, that the laser bed is down much lower than it would normally be. And I'm just going to hit the pulse button. And I'm going to check for 2 things here. First of all, did I even get a mark on the piece of material? If I didn't, I know the laser beam is hitting the inside of the air assist nozzle. If I did get a mark, I'm going to inspect it a little bit closer to make sure that it's basically round. If I've got like a half moon or something like that, that would be a good indication that half of the laser is clipping the edge of the air nozzle. On my machine, because I do have the laser beam coming out of the air assist nozzle, I'll move on to the next step, which is taking a piece of masking tape, and I'm going to put that over the air assist nozzle. Now rub over the nozzle a little bit. I want to make kind of an imprint on that piece of masking tape, and then I'm going to do a quick test pulse. Now, if I look at this very closely, I can see a little bit of the edge of the air assist nozzle itself, and on my machine I can see that that little hole that I punched through with the laser is exactly in the center. Now if you've got your air assist nozzle is perfectly clean and it doesn't leave any little marks on the masking tape where you can actually see where the edge of the air assist nozzle is, you can always go and take a black magic marker and just kind of color the tip a little bit and then put the masking tape on right away. But what if your machine didn't leave a mark on the piece of scrap material? For this, we're going to be removing the entire focus assembly. We're going to leave the mirror assembly on the machine, just removing the focus assembly. On the Reno, there's 2 screws in the front here that I can remove along with detaching the air assist hose, and the whole assembly drops out. On other machines, you'll need to look up from your manufacturers how to remove the focus assembly. If I do need to make any adjustments to mirror number 3, I'll double check that the laser head assembly is square to the laser bed. I'll grab a nice square and I'll check that. Mine looks good. If yours needs adjustments, there's the 2 slotted brackets to either side of the laser head assembly to bring it back into square. The focus assembly is removed, and this is a round tube. Your machine will most likely be a round tube as well, which means on the bottom side of this bracket is going to be a round hole. I'll take a piece of masking tape and put that across the bottom, and I'm going to find the rim of that hole and run my finger around that so it leaves a nice crease. Once again, if I need to, I can always take a black Sharpie and kind of paint the rim of that hole so that the tape will highlight it very nicely. And as you've guessed it, we'll hit the test pulse button. Now on my machine, that hole of course is going to be in the center. On yours, if it didn't go through the air assist nozzle, you'll need to adjust mirror number 3 by one of these adjustment screws until it's in the center, using the same method as before of making a small adjustment, running a test pulse, and then deciding if it got better or worse. You get it as close as you can with one screw, and when that won't make the correct direction of improvement, then you move on to another screw, and then finally the 3rd screw. Another way to help put a crease on this tape to make sure that we're hitting the center of it is I can put a little bit of paint on my finger, and once again just go on the underside and find the crease or the edge of that hole for the focus assembly. Well, this looks like it's in the center. Everything's all set up, and as we saw in that last pulse, there's smoke and there's flame that comes up, and of course that's going right past the mirror. So as a precaution, I am going to pull mirror number 3 out, make sure that it's clean of any smoke residue, and reinstall it. On mirror number 3, taking the mirror in and out typically doesn't require these adjustments being made. These are usually checked when I initially get a machine, and then I never have to check it or set it again. My mirror assembly is all full of smoke residue and carbon. It's a good thing that I checked this because otherwise this would get laser etched and it wouldn't last very long. I'll clean this with a foam brush and 100% alcohol. The mirror is perfectly clean. If you'd like to know the exact method, I'll have a link to a video down below where I clean the mirrors and the focusing lens on the Reno series machine. This time when I test pulse the machine, I'll make sure it's in perfect focus. This looks great front and back, and now I'm ready to start creating more projects on my laser machine. Thanks for joining me as I shared my method for aligning mirrors on a CO2 laser machine. I hope that it helps you out and gets you up and running as fast as possible. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, show it some love by giving it a like or subscribing to the channel. Not only is it a great way to help this channel grow, it's an awesome way to connect video content like this with other great viewers just like you. And until we meet again in the next video, I am Greg from the Laser Channel, where we learn, create, and share.